بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. After a little break when I could travel to Qom, alhamdulillah, and remember you in Ziyarah, we resume our study of Islamic plan for life and Al-Mizan, inshallah. In the first part, we continue with the last unit of Islamic plan for life. We were thinking of maybe finishing in 1 or 2 sessions, but it's going to be 2 sessions. So tonight and inshallah the next session we will finish the book Islamic plan for life. Already in the last unit, unit 7, we talked about Islamic calendar and we talked about Islamic culture and civilization. The next heading is New Islamic Civilization. There is a detailed discussion in the book, but I will be brief and I will try to mention the main points. When we say New Islamic Civilization, some people think that maybe we just want to resume or to bring back the golden era of the Muslim history, which is the 4th century and the 5th century, that they consider as the golden era of Islamic civilization, was the peak, because Muslims were very advanced and they were pioneers in many sciences and technology of that time, and they had big impact on other cultures and civilizations, and they shared their findings with other nations. But our idea is that we shouldn't just be pleased with restoring which was available at that time, because even at that time it's not that they reached all the potentials, it's not that they 100% followed all the Islamic rulings and values. We have to work hard that we utilize every potential for reaching something that Islam is able to offer. If Muslims observe these things that we are going to mention and work together, they can even go further. So some of the things that Muslims need to observe as individuals, as communities, as nations, and the whole Muslim Ummah, in order to be able to build again a golden era of Islamic civilization, are as follows. First, we need to fully understand and implement Tawḥīd. If we really understand Tawḥīd and how Tawḥīd governs every aspect of our faith, every aspect of our thinking, our practice must reflect the light of Tawḥīd. Tawḥīd has lots of consequences, lots of implications. Unity of Allah must be echoed in unity of mankind, and in particular unity of believers, and in most particular way unity of Muslims. If Muslim thinkers, scientists, institutions, countries, they understand Tawḥīd and work for the establishment of Tawḥīd in realities of our lives, then we have some of the best resources in order to make a new civilization. Best human resources, some of the best human resources, some of the best natural resources are available. Just we need to tune ourselves to the light of Tawḥīd. Also, the second thing is Wilāyah. And we mean by Wilāyah here the capacity of human beings to be Waliyullah, to be guardian, to represent Allah, to be vicegerent of Allah. We should not be satisfied with just having, food or, shelter or, medicine or, healthy water or, access to medical resources. These are very important, and definitely we need all this. But human beings have much more. When you take care of basic needs that they have with respect to their, bodily life, it just then there's a chance to focus on many other greater needs that we have, which are much greater than food or water, etc. We need knowledge, we need love, we need arts, we need human relations. We'll talk about it later, inshallah. We need strong families, we need strong communities. It's not just being satisfied with satisfying our material desires. So we need to work for enabling human beings to develop their potentials and becoming Khalifatullah, becoming Awliyaullah, becoming very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The beauty of Islam can better be seen when we have such people, when we have such spiritually oriented individuals and communities. The beauty of Islam is not just seen in certain rituals or rites. Another element of Islamic civilization that we need to work on to build it again is freedom. Islam is very much in favor of freedom. There are different aspects for freedom. Here we talk more about two aspects. One is social freedom and the other one is a spiritual freedom. And these two come together. We mean by a spiritual freedom a kind of internal freedom. Unfortunately, this is very much neglected in modern world. First, human beings need to be free internally. If we are driven by our own lower desires, by our own temptations, then even if we have power or freedom outside, what are we going to do? The most we can do is to make more money, to try to rise a ladder of power, maybe to do more things to satisfy ourselves. We need internal freedom or a spiritual freedom so that instead of listening to our appetites and desires, we listen to our aql and work for a true, comprehensive, balanced humanity. And then we can benefit from social freedom. And we mean by social freedom to have a situation, a condition where opportunities are given to people equally. People have access to education equally, access to job equally. People are able to practice their faith. People are able to have freedom of speech, freedom of thinking, freedom of opinion. But these two come hand in hand. If we just have social freedom without working on liberating ourselves internally, God forbid, it can become like, just animals who are free. If we just operate at the level of, animal soul which is in us. But we want to operate on the level of full human beings, plus have freedom in the society, so that with the least of tensions, with the least of fractions, with the least of interference from outside, we can develop our potentiality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al Imran verse 157 says that one of the tasks of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to liberate. Islam has come to liberate us. الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي. Those who follow the messenger, the prophet, who is Ummi. He does several things. يحل لهم الطيبات يحرم عليهم الخبائث يأمرهم بالمعروف ينهاهم عن المنكر. And then he says, Allah says, يضع عنهم إسرهم وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. The messenger removes from them the chains that have chained them up. Superstitious ideas, any kind of restrictions which are imposed on human beings by people who are thirsty for power or money, etc. This messenger has come to remove them. Then Allah says, فَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِهِ وَعَزَّرُوهُ وَالنَّصَرُوهُ وَاتَّبَعُوا النُّورَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ مَعَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those who believe in him and support him and help him and follow the light which has been sent down with him, these are the people who would have salvation. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, لا تكونن عبد غيرك وقد جعلك الله حرا. Do not be a slave of anyone. Do not let anyone enslave you, while Allah has created you as free. So our freedom is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our freedom is not gifted to us by any political party or any school of thought. Our freedom is very much part of our humanity. Allah, who has gifted us life, has gifted us also freedom. The same Amir al-Mu'mineen says, لا يسترقنك الطمع وقد جعلك الله حرا. It's very beautiful to put these two together. On the one hand, he said, لا تكن عبد غيرك. Don't let anyone enslave you. Don't be a servant of anyone. Allah has made you free. On the other hand, he says, لا يسترقنك الطمع. Don't let greediness enslave you. رق. الرقية means slavery. So, neither people outside should enslave us, nor our own greediness and selfishness and our vices should enslave us. And again he says, وَقَدْ جَعَلَكَ اللَّهُ حُرًّا. Allah has made you free. Or in another hadith he says, مَنْ تَرَكَ الشَّهَوَاتِ كَانَ حُرًّا. Whoever refrains from shahawat, from whims, from appetites, which are not healthy, is free. So we need to have this spiritual or inner freedom, and we need to have social freedom. Then there is a discussion that this is for individuals, and also Muslim communities, Muslim Ummah also should have these two. Muslim Ummah, Muslim communities should have inner freedom when it comes to our institutions, when it comes to our leadership, when it comes to our relations. We should try to free ourselves from worldly desires and satanic, interests. And also externally, we as Ummah, as community, should not let others enslave us. We should have dignified relation with others, but not to be, owned or ruled or enslaved by others. Then there's discussion here in the book that if we have an Islamic kind of Islamic system, if we have Islamic, state, there are two expectations. One is that the government should protect freedom of speech. Islam always encouraged freedom of speech. Yes, we should not make mockery of people, we should not ridicule people, but no one should be, forced to silence because they disagree with us. Ayatollah Mutahari Rahmatullah Allah says, have you ever come across a nation, a state, that they allow so much people who fundamentally disagree with them to come in their most sacred places and challenge their ideas? In the history of Islam, we have atheists who next to Kaaba used to debate and argue against God, against Islam, and no one was stopping them. I'm not saying Muslims always observe this, but Islam, when was practiced, was like this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, as you know in the story of Mufazzal, that when he had some, debate with some of these atheists, and he was very upset, they said, whom do you follow? He said, I follow Ja'far ibn Muhammad. They said, but he is not like you fighting us. He is very respectful. He listens to us. He doesn't interrupt us. He doesn't rush us. He completely listens. And when we think that he is convinced, then he starts arguing, and very, in a very calm way. He never, swears at us. He never, treats us in an angry way. So next to Kaaba, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has very polite and respectful discussion with these people. We had people who denied Islam. We have people who claim to be prophets. So Islam didn't close, minds of people or mouth of people. Ayatollah Mutahari says, if in early Islam, whoever was talking against Islam or said, I don't believe in God, if they were, beating them or killing them, today we had no trace of Islam. So Islam remained because of tolerance that showed towards others. He says, if Islam has remained, it's because with bravery and with clearness dealt with people who have other opinions. We can talk, we can discuss. We are not feeling weak. We are not feeling, troubled. It doesn't mean that there are no manners, no protocols, but if someone doesn't observe, we should not, lose our akhlaq. Every person is expected to observe certain manners, where and how, to whom, share their ideas or challenge. But if they don't observe, we have to remain in control of our emotions and have logical discussion. Another thing is that, as I said also once before, Islam very much tried to share whatever Muslims reached, not only money, food, etc., but also their scientific findings. They didn't put a monopoly over their findings and say we don't share it with others. No, quite opposite. Islam says zakatul ilmi nashru. You can learn from people who have knowledge, and you should teach people who don't have knowledge. Borders, geographical borders, or religious borders should not stop us as human beings to share the good that we have. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, according to what Ibn Abil Hadid quotes in volume 20, page 345, he said, Al-istithar yujibul hasad. If you try to keep things exclusive to yourself, then it would lead to jealousy. Then the other party would become jealous if you don't share with them. وَالْحَسَدُ يُوجِبُ الْبِغْضَةِ. And then when there is jealousy, it would lead to dislike. وَالْبِغْضَةُ تُوجِبُ الْإِخْتِلَافِ. And then dislike would lead to conflict. وَالْإِخْتِلَافُ يُوجِبُ الْفُرْقَةِ. Then they become divided. وَالْفُرْقَةُ تُوجِبُ الضَّعْفِ. Then when they are divided, they become weak. وَالضَّعْفُ يُوجِبُ الذُّلِّ. And when they are weak, they lose their dignity. They are humiliated. وَالذُّلُّ يُوجِبُ زَوَالَ الدَّوْلَةِ وَالذَّهَابَ النِّعْمَةِ. And when you are humiliated, you would lose your dawla, in the sense of power or governance or honor, and your blessings would go away. So you think by keeping things for you only or for your community only, you would be better off, but the reality is that in the long term, you would make people your enemies, and you will create divisions and partitioning, and then you will be humiliated. What you kept for yourself, then by force, they will take it away. Another thing that we have to observe is that with freedom comes responsibility. With rights come duties. It's not just, rights. What responsibilities also you have? What duties? In response to what you take, what are you offering? We don't want just to be, greedy and selfish and just take. We have to also offer, and indeed we should be more happy to offer. So since we human beings are free, then we have to think carefully about our choices. And we need to be answerable about our choices. We are going to be accountable for our choices based on reliable standards and criteria. We have to make our choices, and we have to be able to stand for our choices before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to say, oh Allah, these are the reasons for my choices. Another thing is seeking knowledge and producing knowledge. Amir al-Mu'mineen has a very beautiful saying here, among others. Again, this is in Ibn Abil Hadid commentary on Nahj al-Balagha, volume 20, page 390. He says, Al-ilmu sultan. Sultan sometimes means king, but sometimes in Arabic, sultan means sovereignty, authority. Knowledge brings power, brings dignity, brings strength, brings sovereignty. If Muslims and believers in God in general, if they want to be dignified and to have a role in this world, a positive role, they need to seek knowledge and they need to pioneer in knowledge. Al-ilmu sultan, man wajadahu sala bihi, wa man lam yajidhu sila alayh. Whoever gains knowledge would be dominant, and whoever doesn't gain knowledge, people will dominate him, others will dominate him. So we need to learn not only religious sciences, any useful science. Even sciences which are not useful, but other people may use it against humanity, we need to have some people who master them so that they can stop them. There's a beautiful quotation here in the book. It says, religion like Islam doesn't make facts, doesn't make the truths arbitrarily. Religion is telling us how to discover the truth, how to discover facts. So Islam is indeed a scientific way of discovering facts, based on aql, intellect, based on revelation, based on human experiences. Muslims are supposed to find out the realities of the world. Our scientific and research centers should, after learning, reach the point of contributing to sciences, should produce science. And therefore, we need to give lots of attention to our education systems, teaching and research. And also, we need to have researchers, scholars, scientists, students who feel confident, who know that as believers in God, they are in a better position than anyone else to find the truths of this world. You know, if you have a master that has made, for example, I don't know, some artistic piece, who is in a better position to understand secrets of this piece? Someone who knows this master, believes in his wisdom, has been listening to this master, so is a better position to find out the secrets. We, believers in God, Muslims, Christians, if we have such a love for God, then we should be better to a position to explore the secrets of the world. And history also shows that many scientists were religious people. Then there is a reference to some of the reasons that led in previous centuries to a kind of decline despite golden era. We should be careful. One is when faith and akhlaq, ethics, went to decline, it didn't stop there. You know, sometimes we think if we compromise about faith, maybe we can be better in business, maybe we can be better in science, but it's quite opposite. If we compromise about faith and compromise about ethics, then other things also go to decline. People who love knowledge are different from people who work for the sake of money or reputation. You know, sometimes we see people who have love for knowledge, day and night they work. But if someone is just working for money, he's paid and work for money, they cannot be best of the researchers and scientists. They need to have love for knowledge. Another thing that contributed to the decline was going after a kind of luxurious life, a kind of life based on instant and quick satisfaction, finding money the main factor in evaluation. Then people say, okay, why we should go after learning and science, etc. Maybe through other ways, halal ways, we can make money better and more. And then little by say, okay, if it is not halal, it's also not a problem. If money is the aim, first you try to gain it through halal means. Then little by little you compromise about being halal, and just money becomes everything. This is what we have seen in our history and other nations. Another problem is that Muslim scholars, scientists, institutions were unfortunately humiliated sometimes by corrupt rulers and leaders who, instead of giving them confidence, they said, you cannot compete with other people or other nations. You just have to borrow from others and listen to others and learn from others. For centuries, this idea was being put in the minds of and brains of Muslims, that if you want to succeed, you have to just listen to the, Europeans or, Western people. Exchange is very good, sharing is very good, but to think that, you lack something and other people are better than you in understanding, then would make you, quiet and passive. Some unjust and corrupt governments in the Muslim world also contributed to the decline. Sometimes having access to cheaper products and easy ways of benefiting from others' findings and technology and products also made some people think that we don't need to work hard. We just give money and buy from them. Why we need to learn these things? We can get the final product easily. And restriction on freedom, especially freedom of speech, freedom of thought, not letting people to be open thinkers and open minds, free thinkers, also contributed to decline. So if we want to reach another golden era of Islamic civilization, we have to avoid these mistakes and problems that happened in the past. Another dimension and another way or factor that can help us is justice. Justice is very, very important. Freedom is very important. Justice is very important. Allama Tabatabai, rahmatullah alayhi, has a beautiful analogy or example. He says, in the same way that different parts of body and different organs of body need each other, and when one part needs something, it takes, and then if they produce something, they give. For example, they take from the blood and they put back in the blood, and it will be circulated all over the body, and whatever is needed, organs take and give. But if one organ says, I just want to take, or I don't bother about the rest of the body, it's not going to work. Human society is also like this. We need each other, we need to share, we need to circulate blessings and resources. But if I want to take advantage of my position and just take and don't give, this is not going to work. Justice is very important. Then there is a discussion in the book about individual justice and social justice. You know, Islamically, justice is within and without. You can live alone and be unjust. Because first justice starts with doing justice to yourself. If I ignore my talents, if I don't develop my potentials, if I commit sins, na'udhu billah, if I develop bad habits or vicious, traits of character, I'm doing zulm to myself. Even if I live in a cave, I can do zulm to myself. But also we have social justice, and that is to observe rights of other people and don't disregard their own rights. So justice is very also important in Islamic civilization. And then ethics and spirituality. If we have ethical life and a spiritual life, stress goes down, tensions go down, unnecessary rivalry goes down, and the best of humanity emerges. When we have problems, when we have injustice, when we have no akhlaq, when we are after dunya, all the problems come. Always stress, always fighting, conflict. But the best of humanity can come to the top, to the front, when humanity acts as humanity, with ethics, with morals, with fairness. Fairness is very important. In Akhlaq series in the Hawza, we had few sessions on insaf. Insaf is a great virtue. So we finish our discussion tonight here. Inshallah, we have 2 more discussions that in one night, inshallah, I think we can finish. One is, what is the difference between Islamic culture and Muslim cultures? We have Muslim cultures and we have Islamic culture. Muslim cultures at the best can be different forms and colors of Islamic culture at the best. But sometimes Muslim cultures can go against Islamic culture. It is also possible. So we will see how we can distinguish between these two. And the final point is about identity. What is Muslim identity? Inshallah, these 2 points will be studied in the next session, and the book, inshallah, will finish. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.